Hello and welcome to this edition of News Notes. I'm your host Sumit Pande on 5wh.com, which is a multilingual e-commerce platform for professional journalists to sell their ready-to-use products, services, and creativity to news media outlets. Today, we are being joined in by senior journalist from Mumbai, India, Smitha Nair, who is now working as an independent multimedia journalist. She contributes to Scroll.com, an English language online news platform in India with a focus on long form stories. Smita has worked as a journalist cum anchor for CNN IBN, a leading English news channel in India, which now goes by the name CNN News 18. Thanks for joining us for this conversation, Smita.
Thanks for having me, Sumit.
Smita, you have been, one of those journalists who's made a transition from Delhi to Mumbai, from TV to digital. Mm, what really prompted you to do that?
Uh, Delhi to Mumbai was primarily because I was given the opportunity by my then editor to head the bureau here. Those were the days, Sumit. I'm talking about a decade ago, when in television news, reporters and ground reporting were still given primacy. We did some quality journalism that was showcased on prime time. Malnutrition, rural unemployment, public health care, the water crisis, urban infrastructure and transport, corruption in government tenders. It's true that it was newspapers that still broke the big stories, but news television did what it is uniquely primed to do, which is make a big noise about that newspaper report, amplify it, follow up, force that issue to become talk of public discourse. We were sent with our cameras to doorstep netas and bureaucrats, the powerful who needed to be held accountable, not to harangue some unsuspecting actress or a shop salesperson selling halal meat. Anyway, it was only a matter of time before the much sort of cheaper and evidently more profitable form of doing news, which is dabba bharna, as we said. In Hindi, how many boxes on your screen were filled in your evening debates became the norm. And post 2014, you will attest to this as well, Sumit, the downslide was rapid. Reporters were told, इस पे live कर दो, फलाने channel पे चल रहा है, meaning you have to stand up and do a live shot on a particular story that you haven't even given information on because some other channel is doing so. As reporters, we did fight back. We would say the news was incorrect. We have fact checked it. But the pressure to still go with some iteration of that evidently false or embellished report on another channel would remain. At one point, Sumit, continuing in television news became untenable, and I quit. One quick point about TV news and anchoring, since you referred to the fact that I was also a news anchor for years. I still have my ears close to the ground, so I get quality intel on what happens in editorial meetings across channels. And so, if I'm told the editor, having received some briefing of their own, send down their edict on what subject will be given wall to wall coverage, including what questions anchors should ask and what line they should take. No wonder you see anchors who've not done a day of reporting or spent even a few weeks working the desk become primetime anchors and flourish. Many of them are now poster boys and girls of the rabid right wing. Let me put it this way: some of the reasons I've already told you how TV was post 2014 in particular. Why digital though as an option? More and more news was being consumed on mobile phones, and digital native media was the one doing serious independent journalism. Also, Sumit, I have been trained in broadcast, and I didn't want to not be in that space. I still wanted to use video to do my journalism in some way, and the space to do explanatory journalism, where you provide context, data, and analysis on policy issues, legislation, court judgments, to equip your viewer, reader, listener to make the right decisions when they go out to vote, existed in this digital native space. I did this with my show, Your Morning Fix on Scroll.in. So it was old school journalism, but we did it walk style. Animated graphics played a big part in our storytelling, and it was rather effective, evidenced by the amount of feedback we got from our viewers. The show was also platformed on Hotstar. We won the gold at the Vanifra South Asian Digital Media Awards for Best Use of Online Video. So primarily the fact that working in TV was untenable, and the fact that the digital native media provided the space where I could do the kind of journalism I wanted to do is the reason why I made that shift.
Yes, the sort of choices that digital media offers to journalists, especially in terms of form, where you can experiment with audio, video, text, or a mix,
Yes.
or go for immersives or data visualization. I mean, these are the things which a journalist can play around with, which unfortunately is not the case with legacy media, at least in India. Um, you are working now as a freelance independent journalist. Uh, would you want to, elaborate on the challenges faced by uh, independent content creators in this milieu?
Yes. Let me give you all of that. All of which I'm going to refer to now may not necessarily be my own experience. Some of it is my experience, and some of it is what I've heard from sort of fellow journalists. As you can see, we've seen an exodus of several senior journalists from the mainstream media space to the digital space. Um, Overall, one of the issues, Sumit, has been that there have been massive and periodic layoffs in mainstream media. Both you and I can attest to the fact that when you attain a certain seniority, by virtue of experience, and you're in a certain pay bracket, it gets tough to find jobs that pay you the same and give you the independence and space to do the kind of work that you want to do. In TV, as I said earlier, you're bringing editorial heft to a story as a senior journalist means next to nothing now. Whereas the digital media space was giving us an opportunity to do so much more. Digital media has been punching above its weight. So before I come to the challenges, a quick, if you can indulge me a bit, a quick minute on, just like off the top of my head, the highlights from what we're seeing when I say digital media is punching above its weight. Despite financial pressures, for instance, Scroll is doing a Pulitzer-worthy series like Common Ground that shines a bright light on issues that have long gone unreported. But in all this, the main challenge has been money. As we know, these independent platforms, Sumit, don't have the kind of resources that a news network, such as the one that you and I work for, has. Um,
Well, you raised that very important point wherein, the quantum of work that a freelancer is able to generate or get commissioned. It also depends on, your personal contacts and networks rather than, sort of, I mean, there is no level playing field, if I may, say that. So you think that, there is scope for increasingly, if we have good journalists who are working independently and as freelance journalists, to have some sort of structure as far as freelance content creation is concerned?
Undoubtedly, Sumit, let me put it this way. When you and I started out in journalism, we had we were sort of we were able to thrive, if I may, to an extent because we had good editors in newsrooms that were that valued rigors of reporting, that valued experience, that valued teaching new journalists how to do their jobs. Um, but that doesn't exist anymore, particularly in television. Print, of course, there's still scope for people to sort of come up that way, but the jobs are limited even in print media, as we know. Therefore, particularly for those who want to be in journalism, who have the ability and the commitment to be journalists, but are young and have perhaps only a couple of years of experience in a newsroom, particularly for those crop of people who want to be independent journalists and could make and could do some seriously good journalism. And I've seen some of those experiences around. For them, perhaps a platform such as this, where perhaps senior journalists could help them write pitches, reach out to the right people in this sort of digital media ecosystem in particular, uh, perhaps guide them on how to negotiate for pay, would be vital. It would be a vital service that such a platform would provide. In fact, Sumit, in international television freelancing, platforms of this nature, not the exact same thing, but something of this nature exists, like Feature Story News. I don't know how familiar you are with their work.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
broadcast networks worldwide use journalists who work with FSN for live coverage or reporting from
That
places
is
where they
story
don't
hunting.
have correspondents. Yes. So a platform that provides structure, advice on how to write pitches, whom to address, how to follow up, negotiate pay would certainly be welcome.
Thank you, Smitha. Thank you very much for speaking to 5wh.com. That was Smitha Nair, senior journalist from Mumbai, India, speaking to us on challenges faced by independent journalists and content creators. That's all we have in this edition of 5wh.com. Thanks for listening.